All right, let's dive in. Today, we're tackling the language of scholarship. All those big, sometimes intimidating words you see in academic papers. But we're not just going to define them. We're going to turn them into a practical toolkit, powerful tools you can use for your own thinking and communication. And it all starts with a feeling I bet you've had before. You know that feeling, right? You're reading some dense article or listening to a debate, and it feels like you're totally on the outside looking in. Like everyone else got some secret decoder ring for these huge, important-sounding words, and well, you missed the memo. It's a super common feeling, that sense of being locked out by jargon.
Well, here's the thing. You're not missing anything. There's no secret club. It's not about being a genius, I promise. It's just about having the right tools for the job. And that's exactly what we're going to do here. We're going to build that toolkit together, piece by piece, so you can start getting your own big ideas out there with real precision and confidence. So, why should we even care about these words? Well, because they're so much more than just vocabulary you memorize for a test. Think of them as precision instruments for your brain. They let us describe the world, build arguments, and challenge ideas in a way that's just incredibly sharp, clear, and powerful. Okay, let's take a perfect example. Erudite. Sure, you could just say someone is smart, right? But erudite is way more specific. It points to a deep, scholarly kind of knowledge. It's the difference between, say, knowing a bunch of trivia facts and having a really profound, well-studied understanding of a subject. It's a word that just respects that depth of knowledge. All right, let's get our hands dirty. Tool number 1. This first set of tools is all about construction, how you build a really solid, convincing argument from the ground up. I want you to think of yourself as an architect, and these words, these are your bricks and mortar. So here's the blueprint, the architecture of a great argument. First, you start with a supposition. That's basically your educated guess, your hypothesis. Then, and this is crucial, you have to bolster or substantiate it. You back it up with hard evidence. After that, you aver your claims. You state them with confidence because you've done the work. And if you do all that right, your argument becomes cogent. That means it's logical, it's persuasive, it just makes sense. It's a step-by-step process, see? Okay, on to our next set of tools, because let's be real, not everything in the world is a neat and tidy argument. Some ideas are messy, they're complex, nuanced, or sometimes just weird. This part of our toolkit is all about giving you the right words to describe that complexity with total accuracy. So this is your go-to kit for tough concepts. You ever read a research paper and the explanation is just so tangled and complex you can't follow it? That's convoluted. What about knowledge that's really specialized, only understood by a handful of experts in a field? That's esoteric. And if something just feels totally out of place in time, like seeing a smartwatch in a movie set in ancient Rome, that's an anachronism. And for anything that just deviates from the norm, whether it's a weird data point or strange behavior, the perfect word is aberrant. Now, this one is a really important distinction. Something is ambiguous if its meaning is just unclear. It could be an accident, maybe it was poorly written, but when someone equivocates, that's a whole different ballgame. They are deliberately using vague language to mislead you or to hide something. So one is just confusing, the other is actively deceptive. That's a huge difference. All right, time for the advanced course. These are the pro-level tools. We've built arguments, we've described complex stuff. Now we learn how to analyze, critique, and even take apart other people's arguments with surgical precision. This is where critical thinking really shines. Let's start with the basics. Truth versus lies. If a source or a statement is fundamentally truthful and honest, the word is veracious. And if it's the opposite, just plain deceitful and full of lies, it's mendacious. These aren't just fancy words for true and false. They're powerful. They get at the fundamental character of what's being said. Okay, but deception can be way more subtle, right? This next pair gets into that nuance. Someone who is artless is genuine and sincere. Think simple, natural, no hidden agenda. But someone who is disingenuous, oh, that's tricky. They're being dishonest in a really specific way. They're pretending to know less than they do or pretending to be more innocent, usually to get something. It's a very calculated, sophisticated kind of deception. This is such a crucial skill, spotting flawed logic. So an argument can be fallacious. That means it's built on a mistaken belief. The whole foundation is just wrong. But then there's the specious argument, and this one is way more dangerous. It looks good on the surface. It sounds reasonable. It seems plausible, but it's actually wrong. It's like a perfect shiny red apple that's completely rotten on the inside. Being able to tell the difference, that is a legitimate superpower. Okay, so you did it.
You used your new superpower and you've spotted a flawed idea, a specious argument. Now what? What's the next move? How do you actually go about correcting it? The tool for this job is the verb disabuse. When you disabuse someone of an idea, you're correcting their mistaken belief. It's not about yelling, "You're wrong." It's a more thoughtful process. It's about persuading them, using reason and evidence, to see the error in their thinking. It's all about guiding someone from a false impression to a clearer understanding. And just like that, you've got a whole new toolkit. We've gone through all these words, and I hope you can see they're not just for a vocabulary test. We've been assembling a really powerful set of tools for your mind. So let's just take a quick look at what's in our new toolbox. So this isn't about memorizing definitions. It's about what you can now do. You're equipped with the specific language you need to build and support your own arguments. You can describe really nuanced and complex ideas with incredible precision, and, maybe most importantly, you can question and critique the ideas you come across every single day.
So I'll leave you with this. You've got the tools now. But a toolkit isn't meant to just sit on a shelf collecting dust, right? It's meant to be used. So the real question is, what are you going to build? What new ideas will you analyze? What flawed arguments will you challenge? And what new, totally cogent ideas will you put out into the world?